going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, joined by Malcom from Big Mac's Breakdowns here on YouTube. You can find his stuff at the link in the description of this video. Malcom, how you doing? Packers season is over, but a pretty promising rookie class, I'd say.
Yeah, man, and you saw it on full display in the playoffs. It's like, man, you got to really see how close this team is or might be to a Super Bowl in the near future. And I think like we got there on the backs of most of these rookies with their young energy. So I'm excited to see what these guys could put together moving forward.
Now, I told you we're going to go through the rookie class, so that's what we've kind of done with you all season long. I'd love to get your perspective on these guys, but I'm going to start with the toughest one first, because I know going back to this summer, looking at this draft class and the way kind of training camp was playing out, there were a lot of Packers fans nervous about that rookie kicker, and you preached grace, which I thought was smart and also pretty damn compassionate, given how inconsistent he had looked at times. And then, of course, we get to this playoff game, big miss in a big spot. But if you want to pull back and look at kind of the totality of his rookie season and where you think the patience might be called for still, or is it time to maybe start bringing in some competition? How do you view Anders Carlson's rookie season?
I view it for the most part as a success. I know he did miss some kicks throughout the season, but going into the season, as we said, like we could be expecting him to miss some kicks and miss some crucial kicks. And ultimately, we as people can have a very what have you done for me lately? And what he's done for us lately was missed the kick that potentially could have sent us to the NFC Championship and even more so the Super Bowl, possibly. Because I'm pretty sure we were all confident that we could have beat the Buccaneers if we played them again, or beat the Lions if we were able to get past the 49ers. But I still think he has a rookie season that we could build on. I honestly think like some of the competition is basically the Packer way, just making sure these guys stay on their toes and know that their job isn't safe. And I think that Goo is showing that, hey, if guys aren't working out, we're not afraid to move on. I don't care if we drafted you. I don't care if you're a guy off the street. If you can make this team better, you can make this team better. So I think that's what a move like that. I think we signed Jack Lesney out of Georgia. So I think Anders Carlson, not saying he has it in the bag again, he still has to go out and compete for his job. I think for a rookie, I think he did pretty decent. I wouldn't mind if we went into next season. If I had to make the decision today, I wouldn't be mad at all if the Packers chose him to move forward as the kicker for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
that's just me personally. I'm pretty sure some people out there, like,
there might be some differences of opinion. Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible. Guy, but it's like I can't go out there and kick for him. You know what I'm saying? All I can do is believe in him and put good faith on him. I think for a rookie kicker, he did a good job. So I think we could see. And mind you, I think again, field goal team as a whole wasn't the most consistent as well. So
that is true.
I think again, like I also said, once we start seeing more consistency as a whole from the field goal team, we'll start seeing more consistency out of Anders Carlson.
I think that's true, and it's kind of fascinating to look at that game in particular, where earlier in the game there is a horrible snap that literally skips on the surface of the playing field that is somehow gotten up, and he makes that kick. So it's a good point. Definitely.
Yeah, I seen the PFF stat out there that we had the second lowest graded long snapper in the league, or somewhere around there. Like he was one of the lowest graded long snappers in the league. So it's like we got to get guys that's able to do their job as well on the field goal team. I would say my biggest ding against Anders Carlson is I don't see him get a lot of touchbacks. I think a lot of teams got a chance to return kicks. I would say, if anything, that's my biggest.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because how much of that is him being asked to do that? Like it seems like they want to cover kicks, and I don't understand why. When he apparently has the leg. We've seen him do it in camp practices, in some games, in preseason, and what have you. But then, we get into these games even before the end of the year when things turn cold and it's a little harder to drive the ball. I just haven't seen him asked to do that, or seemingly asked to do that consistently. So I'm with you on that. That's a curious one.
Yeah,
to me.
If he's being told to do that, I'm not sure why. Because every time they return the ball, I hold my breath. With our
you're not alone on that one.
Kickoff or
not
kick and punt coverage. I hold my breath every time.
Let's go back to the top of the 2023 draft and look at Lucas Van Ness, because
Mm-hmm.
clearly, I mean, right out of the gate there, week 1 in Chicago, he got his first sack,
Yeah.
hustling outside the pocket, bringing down fields in the open field. I don't think anyone would mistake him for Clay Matthews his rookie season, right?
No,
The
not
production
at
certainly
all.
wasn't there, but the opportunities also weren't there. Like, he was very much a rotational piece
Yeah.
pretty much throughout the season. How do you view his rookie year?
If I had to give it a grade, I would say C plus, B minus, just because I feel like. But even if I go back to a guy like Rashawn Gary, I will give it the same grade just to start
Mhm.
off. That doesn't mean it can improve, and I most definitely think that Lucas Van Ness can improve because you started to see it towards the end of the season. I think that's a regular kind of trend for the past couple of draft classes. You see the bumps and bruises. You see flashes throughout the beginning of the season, but you're going to see the bumps and bruises. They're going to be apparent and abundant. But as the season go on and they start to get more experience, like I saw Lucas Van Ness make a lot of plays. I think he had 5 sacks. 4 of those sacks came in the last 6 games.
Right.
And he made a couple plays in that Atlanta game as well at the beginning of the season. I think again, I would say that again, I wish he was utilized a little bit different. Didn't really kick inside as much. I thought that could have been useful to
I
his
was gonna bring
to
that
his
up, right?
skill
The
set.
fact that we spent the whole summer thinking, oh, they could really kind of use him up and down the front. That never
Yeah.
really materialized.
Yeah, and it's like if you want this guy to, he not only needs the technique and know what to do, he needs the confidence. And I thought that could have been a confidence builder, like, hey, use your athleticism to beat this guard or something like that, or use this opportunity just to get just to plug a gap, maintain, because we let up a lot of yards against guys like Tommy DeVito on the ground. I thought guys
Yeah.
like if you put an edge rusher inside, you probably negate some of those athletic differences between quarterback and a regular defensive lineman like a Kenny Clark or Devontae Wyatt. You put a guy in there that runs a 4.5 like Lucas Van Ness, it'll give guys a hard time trying to get out that pocket. So again, fortunately, we going into the new season with a new defensive coordinator that could possibly
Right.
bring out the most of Lucas Van Ness, and that's what's got me the most excited because. Again, like I said, his skill set and his talent could have been maximized a lot more in his rookie season. But again, we coming in with fresh blood, and I cannot wait to see how they use Lucas Van
Oh
Ness. So
man.
yes, his grade might be a C plus, B minus right now, but I think it could shoot up to an A plus at least this season, given that we got some new schemes coming in for the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I think the upside is still really almost untapped, really,
Yeah,
as far as like his athleticism and his explosiveness that we saw in spurts, but never really with a consistency that I guess you expect from a rookie, right?
yeah,
That's kind of the gig, especially again when you're not getting a ton of opportunities,
yeah.
especially early in the season. I thought it was a
And you had
solid
other
rookie
guys
year,
playing well. Kingsley
right?
Reed
Agbare,
played
yeah,
well. Preston Smith, he was Mr. Consistent. And Rashawn Gary, he started to work his way back into form this
yeah.
year. So he was behind a lot of good depth. I hope he learned a lot from these guys as well. But I think like towards the end of the season, especially that sack against Patrick Mahomes, you started to really see him sort of
Yes,
start to
sir.
flourish and come into his own and start to make disruptions play after play, not just as a pass rusher, but as a run defender as well, which I thought would have been his forte right off the bat.
Um, Looking at the next selection, we'll kind of tie that together with the third rounder in Tucker Kraft with Luke Musgrave, the two tight ends. Kind of a fascinating study in the sense that you have Musgrave as the clear kind of number one guy right out of the gate. I mean, from the
Yeah,
first training camp practice, he was installed as your starting tight end.
yeah,
And then he suffers that injury to his spleen in uh, basically the mid-season, right? And then Tucker Kraft is there, ready,
mhm,
available in a way that I don't think anybody expected because he looked rough early in the
yeah.
season, but he really came on towards the end of the year. What did you think of these guys in their rookie seasons?
Well, I'll start off with Musgrave since he was tight end one headed into the season. I thought right off the bat, we just wanted the connection between him and Jordan Love to connect. It was either Jordan Love was missing him by a few yards, or every time Luke Musgrave caught the ball, he was falling to the ground. He was just like, man, if these guys could get it going. And I think around the Rams game and the Steelers games where you start to see like Luke Musgrave and Jordan Love really start to pick it up. And at that point, Jordan Love was just attacking in the middle of the field. He was attacking the check down with Luke Musgrave in the flat. Like it just started to get excited to see because it was like we finally have a receiving tight end, and only thing he just needs to do is get stronger so that he can block. But I think that's where Musgrave, he started to pick up some of the slack, and that was my guy headed into the season. That was my pick, saying that he was tight end one due to his blocking prowess, as well as when he gets the ball in his hands, he's a bitch and a half to bring down. I don't know if I can say that,
You sure
but
can.
he's a
Absolutely.
he's a motherfucker to bring down, and he was hurdling guys, running through guys, not afraid from contact. So you start to see these guys kind of complement each other. You started to see like, man, if you get these guys on the field at the same time, because Luke Musgrave did miss some games once Tucker Kraft started to pick up his game. You started to see like once these guys be able to put it together, like watch out for this offense. And I think most famous once you got to the Cowboys game, you started to see, okay, we're going to hit Tucker Kraft underneath. I think he only got one reception that game, but you started to see we're going to hit him underneath, let him wear down some linebackers and things of that nature. Then we're going to sneak Musgrave out to the wheel, and he's going to be wide open. You know what I'm saying? You
Wide
started to
open.
see the potential of the offense really start to broaden because you started to see these two guys along with the other weapons at receivers start to come to life, and started to do everything right. You start I want to say it was the Chargers game where Kraft was he looked like a junior Kittle almost, like just picking up guys like Khalil Mack, working up to the next level, getting his hat onto linebackers. Even Musgrave had a few important blocks. I think he had an important block on that Jaden Reed reverse to a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like these guys, they starting to pick up their IQs. They're starting to their bodies are starting to mature. So I'm excited to see them next year and how Matt LaFleur maximize their talent and their skill sets to make life easier for Jordan Love.
Another pair of pass catchers that the Packers got in this draft were obviously Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, a couple of
Yeah,
guys who really contributed a hell of a lot more than I expected their rookie
yeah,
seasons. And I know clearly, I mean, with the way they kind of overturned the roster, you knew that these guys would see targets, would get some kind of action as far as, production on throughout the season. But the way they were just, I mean, Jaden Reed broke Sterling Sharp's rookie record for
yeah.
most receptions in a season. It's like I knew they would be involved, but the way both of these guys really, I mean, Reed in particular, but both of them exploded onto the scene. You got to be excited. What did you see their rookie season?
Starting off with Jaden Reed, first off, A+ of a rookie season. Uh, I thought he wasn't getting used enough early on, and I made a video saying that get this guy some manufactured touches. Keep giving him, just give him a jet sweep, just give him an end around, give him screens. Like let this guy let's just see what he could do with the ball in his hands. And you started to see that around the Chargers game, the Rams game, Vikings game. Like he started to just Matt LaFleur just started to give Jaden Reed the ball any way he can. And even in the Lions game, you start to see it on the end around sweep that hey, this guy is special. I would like for us to add another Jaden Reed to this team or somebody with a similar skill set, because this is what I love about Jaden Reed. Not only can he be a receiver, you could just use him exclusively as a receiver and be just fine. If that's how talented he is. And I think he's still growing. I still think that Matt LaFleur could put a little bit more weight onto his plate. But again, you adding that extra element, just being able to get manufactured touches and I thought he could be sort of that Debo Samuel, Tyreek Hill type of element to this offense. Maybe not to the extent, not calling him the same caliber of player just yet, but I think you could have him as the focal point of this offense. That way defenses key in on him and you could work off whether you just want to fake the swing pass or fake the end around and hand it off to one of the running backs, or just using them in multiple ways so that you could give other guys other opportunities. And moving on to Dontavian Wicks, I mean, you could go back to the Senior Bowl in early 2023. Like I just seen the Packer fans love this guy from that moment, from the Senior Bowl last year, and
Right.
the hype just built up. And we didn't see him in the preseason, so we didn't really know what to expect from him. So seeing him show out in week 2 against the Falcons, and
Yeah.
then moving forward, like it was up and down. He dealt with some injuries, but once he was able to put together a consistent body of work, you like, did we just draft Devontae 2.0?
Right.
Did we just drive another Tay? Like literally.
Look at his release. It's spooky, man. The way he's able to get open and get not only kind of off the line of scrimmage, right, but then at the top of the route to be able to separate. It's impressive for a rookie. He
right,
is
and at that size,
shocking almost.
he's not a small receiver at
No,
all.
yeah, exactly.
And again, another guy I think we haven't even seen most of his skill set. I think he has about a 40-inch vertical. So I would have loved to have seen him in the red zone a little bit more.
Yeah, a little jump ball action.
Jump ball action. I know he had one opportunity against Atlanta and just missed it, but I didn't really see too many opportunities after that. But
yeah,
and then another guy who I think, even when he messed up, because he had that fumble against the Rams, he just got right back out there and like, just keep feeding me, and you started to see he allowed for Jordan Love to attack the middle of the field the way he did. In my opinion, I think that Jordan Love found that confidence with Dontavian Wicks, and I think that if you go to the Dallas game, I mean, he put in enough confidence to go at an All-Pro corner. What I'm saying? A former All-Pro
with
corner,
no
a defensive
hesitation.
player of the year at that.
Right.
And it's like, again, that these guys, not just Reed and Wicks, but of course Watson and Dobbs. You can even extend down to Milton and Heath. Like you started to see these guys really mature and really gain that chemistry with Jordan Love. It's like, the sky isn't even the limit. We going to the moon. We going to the stars with this offense. We going to the stars with this offense, and I think that Wicks and Reed, I think they're enough to be, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 on this team as they continue to mature and things of that nature. And I think that's the thing about us Packer fans. We don't get the sexy round 1 wide
pick,
receiver,
right?
And I think I'm okay with that. If we were to go to this draft and not draft the receiver, I'm okay with that because I feel like we have a number 1 and we have a number 2 in Reed and Wicks specifically. And then you got a good complement of guys with Dobbs, Watson, and Heath and Melton as well. So I'm fine with Wicks and Reed being our 1 and 2 punch, moving forward.
I love it. I love everything we saw from them. And yeah, the idea that they're just kind of starting out is unbelievably exciting. No question about it. We're going to keep going in pairs here, I guess, because we have the 2 tight ends, we got the 2 receivers. What about the 2 defensive linemen? We got obviously Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks. Both of them flashed at times. I think Brooks was really coming on towards the end of the year. What did you see from those guys in their rookie seasons?
Yeah, I agree. I think Wooden, though far few in between, it's like every time I seen him. He made his presence known. It's like I didn't miss a play that Kobe Wooden made because it was like, oh shit, Kobe Wooden made a play.
He's out there.
He disrupted the play. He made it into the backfield. He's chasing the quarterback. Like he's doing those little things. And again, another young guy, still undersized, was playing undersized at the position around 275, 280. You think about if you could get this guy up to maybe 290, you wonder what else you could do with him. Still a guy that could probably even kick out with his athletic profile. He could probably.
I wondered about that. Do you think he could handle that? You think they could possibly do that? I mean, we obviously don't know who the coordinator is going to be, what kind of scheme they're going to be running, but do you think he could go outside?
I think he could in a pinch, at least on rundowns.
Right.
And I would say even if you need to rotate him in because a guy need a breather or two, why not? I think that's why you draft these athletic guys and you draft these guys who have versatile backgrounds so that you can mix and match and throw off the defense or throw off the offense, give them different looks. Or you could use them on one tackle just to give the other edge rusher a better matchup against a different tackle. You know what I'm saying? It's just you just mix and match. You got to be able to play your space in different ways. You can't just have them and leave them stationary at one position. That way, okay, I'm gonna be facing his left guard every down, and now this left guard he's knowing my moves. You know what I'm saying? These guys
figuring you out, right?
Yeah, like you got to understand these guys on the other side of the ball, they get paid too. So they're gonna look at a rookie and figure him out just like that because the rookie is still learning how to develop. But not to rumble on, getting back to Carl Brooks. That was my guy. That was my guy throughout the whole draft process. And I was surprised that the Packers even drafted him due to his athletic profile. But you seen with his hand technique, his hand violence, that's the reason why the Packers picks up a Carl Brooks with another guy with an edge background kicking inside to the 3 tech. again, like I'm glad that the Packers drafted him. He was disruptive pretty much throughout the whole season. Was a key piece, a key rotational piece at that. A guy that penetrated pretty well. He had a mean double hand swipe, had a lot of pop in his hands throughout the season. It was like what we got in Carl Brooks, what his draft profile was. He was exactly that for the Packers this past season. I do think he needs to, chisel his frame out a little bit more. But once he does, man, I think again, I'm not saying he's like a Kenny replacement. I still think we need to start thinking about who might replace Kenny once he gets to that age. I'm not saying he's at that age either, but I'm just saying, like, I think this guy can be a key rotational piece for the Packers for time to come as well. But I think he could do it a little bit on an extended basis, maybe even take a key third down pass rushing role with him and Devontae Wyatt at the helms.
Totally. I'd love to see him just get more opportunities. I thought whenever he was out there, which again, towards the end of the year was with more regularity, but
yeah,
man, I just thought he really brought an extra gear to that defensive front and seemed to win more often than not, especially when he got a one-on-one with a guard or what have you. I really like this kid. Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, and we saw a lot, and I mean a lot of Carrington Valentine this year, due to injuries. I mean, both between Rasul getting traded and Jair being hurt much of the year. We saw Valentine nearly every week. What did you think? Because it was interesting coming out of the summer, the training camp situation, where he was so physical and you got really excited about the promise there. But, teams, especially I think that Denver game is the one that really jumps out to me. They certainly targeted him. And I think it was a pretty up and down affair. What did you see from Carrington Valentine during his rookie season?
Well, we could go back to the preseason. Again, doubling down on what you said in his physicality. And I think that's what we were excited about, given that we were, expecting Joe Barry to play a lot more aggressive coverages, a lot more press coverage. So it's like, okay, cool. We got a rookie.
We got a guy.
We got a guy that can do that. Of course, we'll need to develop his, man-to-man technique. I would say he still needs to improve his press technique as well. Can kind of I think he needs to trust his athleticism is basically what I want to say. Trust his athleticism so that he could be a little bit more aggressive in coverage. And of course, I think he needs to get a little bit bigger so that guys like a Cortland Sutton aren't just having their way. Because there was a lot of instances where, he could have just jarred. I would say if he had a little bit more strength in his upper half, he could have jarred some balls loose. He could have won some of those 50-50 balls. I think he got muscled out of a ball at the end of the season. I can't remember what quite game it was. I just remember the rep. However, like you start to see the signs like, man, this guy is pretty sticky in coverage. He just needs to know how to finish the play, know how to attack the ball at the catch point and things of that nature. But all in all, I think throughout the season, especially once we traded Rasul Douglas, I think that was not only just us. I think at the time we might have seen it as a rebuilding type of move, but I think if we have a guy that we're confident in, we also have the room to improve our draft. I think it was a sort of a win-win. I think it was an even trade between Rasul Douglas, the Packers, and the Bills. Got a third-round pick, but I also think we thought that Carrington Valentine can take over for Rasul Douglas. Might not have the same impact, but can develop into somebody that can have an impact like a Rasul Douglas. I don't think that's out the realm of possibilities. And he's looking like one of the better steals of the draft. So,
I mean, for a seventh rounder,
that could potentially be your CB2 moving forward, and could possibly be like a Sam Shields type of corner, a CB2 that can hold his own on the other side, on the other side from your CB1. And right now, of course, we still got Jair Alexander. But it's like even when Jair Alexander was out, it was I said this on Twitter a few times. I said I'm not saying that our defense is better without Jair. I just think we play a little bit more cohesive.
Totally agree.
I think we play a little bit more cohesive because we're not trying to compensate, for leaving Jair on the best receiver. Now we're bracketing the rest, everybody else. And like, no, I think when it was Carrington Valentine and Corey Ballantyne, I think just the back end was just a little bit more, comfortable playing their own games and things of that nature. So I'm not putting out the realm of possibilities that we might. I still think we go corner in the draft. I think we might even go corner early. I wouldn't be surprised, but
Right.
I wouldn't say that we absolutely need to. I
Yeah,
think
they're not boxed in there, but I think there's definitely a good chance that
yeah, I think
corner
it's
is
a
in the
good
first
chance
3
too.
rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with some of the controversy surrounding Jair and stuff. Like I just
Yeah,
don't.
the Jair thing is interesting. I will say though, to Jair's credit, when he came back from the suspension, I thought he played well, and especially in that Dallas game, you could tell
Yeah,
he was almost over communicating, right, and
yeah,
making sure that he was in tune with everything going on, and everyone knew kind of as a collective what the call was, what the adjustments were.
yeah,
Man, if we get that Jair going forward,
yeah.
I'm
Just
real happy.
discipline
I'm
and
real
and
happy.
just
Yep.
standing on business. Like I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be mad at all if it's Jair and Carrington Valentine as the
Yeah.
CB1, CB2 respectively, and maybe just addressing the nickel corner situation. I think we've been needing
Yes.
to address that. I think that's the
Yes.
more pressing need than anything else on
Totally
the back
agree.
end, other than safety.
Absolutely, 1,000% agree.
Yeah, yeah,
Really quick, wrapping up the draft class here with Anthony Johnson Jr., who was making a big jump from what he was asked to do in college to the
yeah,
pros. You saw certainly, I would characterize it as a very typical rookie up and down season. When called upon, I thought he was kind of thrown in the fire. I don't think there's no shame in saying like he struggled at times, but
yeah,
I still think you saw glimpses of what they liked about him, why they made him a draft selection, because
yeah.
I still think there's talent there, and I still think I'm excited to watch him develop. What did you see from his rookie season?
I think again to piggyback off what you said, just a lot of glimpses. Most notoriously in that Rams game, I
Right.
think him and Carrington Valentine came alive those games. But I think again, 7th round pick is like, can you really be mad at if he misses
Right.
the tackle or if he misses
Right.
a read? Like you can't really. I'm not saying you can't be mad at it because you want these guys to develop because you start to grow attached, you start to see their potential. And Anthony Johnson Jr., it's like, okay, you're a safety. We need safety first and foremost.
Mm.
You're a safety that can, that shows potential in man coverage or man match coverage. It's like you can be that guy. You just got to come and take that opportunity. Another guy that's still very much a project, but you see the athleticism, you see him being able to fly around because that's and be it that was supposed to be the Joe Barry way. You started to see like, hey, this guy he could be a staple in this defense and being that this league is moving towards guys on the front end getting pressure and guys on the
Hmm.
back end. We want guys covering guys, not grass. I think this might be a defense heavy draft again. And I know you're
Yep.
like, how many more can we
Yeah.
have?
No, I'm right there with you.
I'm like, I
That's a
wouldn't
good
be surprised
that's a
if
good question. Before we get going, I want
yeah,
to
yeah,
ask you about the draft needs, right? And we always kind of pick this over every single year, and we all kind of have ideas about what the Packers should
yeah,
do or could do or might do, and then they almost always go a different way. But
yeah,
something you said a little bit ago that I completely agree with. To me, the number one need is slot corner. Like
yeah,
it's no shade on Nixon, but you got to improve there. You got to get somebody
got
who's
to.
a lot more of a kind of a twitchy athlete, right? Somebody who can handle those two-way goes, those
Hmm.
option routes in space. I just think that's, you saw Nixon struggle with a lot of that.
Yeah,
Um, and to me, like maybe there's someone on the team that can handle that. I know you mentioned Anthony Johnson Jr. Carrington Valentine was running in the slot towards the end of camp.
yeah,
But to me, like I just think that's an athletic position that you need a premium athlete at.
yeah,
And I don't know, like as far as what they will consider premium, like they have certainly shown that they want corners, whether it's corner, tackle, edge rusher. Those are traditionally how the Packers view kind of premium positions. Slot corner, I don't know if they do, but I think they need to start because I think that's been an issue basically since Charles Woodson left. Like
yeah,
once Woodson was gone, manning the slot. I mean, they had Micah
yeah.
Hyde come on towards
Micah
the end of
Hyde,
his
don't
rookie
remind me.
contract, but they let him go right when he was, hitting his peak form. So for me, that's really kind of the number one need for me.
Yeah,
What do you see when it comes to draft needs?
need. I would say, like piggybacking off what you said, slot corner is definitely a big need. I'm scouting right now Javon Bullard really hard out of Georgia, and the Packers love their Georgia Bulldogs.
Hmm.
That's
Get that
my
SEC speed, baby.
that's probably my number one guy at the slot corner. But I said safety, and there's a lot of there's a handful of safeties in this class that I think the Packers could use, and I wouldn't be mad if they went first round safety, second round safety, similar to how we did the tight ends and D line. Double dip, get two guys that are real dudes, and go from there. A sneaky need is linebacker. Especially
Right.
if we get a guy at DC that likes to blitz. I know Quay Walker is a blitzer, but are we going to keep Devondre Campbell to be that guy that drops back in the coverage? But
Yeah.
if you want to throw guys off, you're gonna have that second linebacker that could get after the quarterback as well. So I don't know if that's really Devondre Campbell's forte. Maybe Isaiah McDuffie takes a step, but I think linebacker is a sneaky need. And I would say D line, cornerback. I would say cornerback and D line. That was again, all the needs are on the defense, in my opinion. I think the offense pretty much showed me,
Right.
We're good at least for another 2 years. Not saying that they don't address offense, but I think just where can you get better on the defense? I think with TJ Sladen, he's going into the final year of his contract, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken. So, do you
Yep.
plan on keeping him at nose tackle? I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if we went and got another nose tackle.
Amen.
I would
Absolutely.
say, yeah, and then I would put corner up there. Probably not our biggest need anymore, but it's definitely a need. I would say just get better on defense. Just how can we shore up the defense? And I know they're like, well, we need a alpha number one receiver. We need,
I hear that
left
so
tackle.
much, man. That just like feels like fantasy football thinking. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Well, given everything we saw from the offense this year and how defenses struggled to key on anybody, why bring in that guy so that defensive coordinators know, oh, hey, that's the number one. Like, I love the fact that they can be so multiple on offense.
Right. And there's 6 wide receivers, that play significant snaps this year.
Right.
5 of them went over 100 yards at least once. You know, or had at least a breakout game.
Right.
It's like, how can really, why would you want to throw somebody else into that mix? Not saying they will throw off the chemistry, but then now they have to develop. Then you'll be mad that they're sitting behind the top 5 guys or top 6
Right.
guys. You
Yep.
don't want to you don't really, especially guys that still on their rookie
Rookie
contracts, still got
deals.
2
Yeah.
years at least on Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, Bo Melton, and then you got rookie contracts in Wicks, Reed, and Heath. Like I think the only way we add a receiver is either late 6th, 7th round or
Well,
undrafted
or
free agent.
I
That's
think
that's my personal opinion.
it's a possibility, but I also think I'm not going to sit here and say like they're never going to take one right early. If somebody drops and
Yeah,
they think there's an incredible
yeah,
value, like then I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised, right? Like if there's
Right,
kind of
right.
like what happened with Eddie Lacy. Remember when they drafted Eddie
Yeah,
Lacy?
yeah,
Everyone thought Lacy was going way earlier than he did, and by the time he reached the Packers, what it was in the late second round, they were like,
yeah.
okay, because they just couldn't pass up the value. So
And
in
I'm
that way, if a receiver dropped who they have really high on their board, sure, that's
yeah,
one possibility for me where it's like, okay, that I would understand if they
yeah.
kind of went that route.
And I'm glad you brought up Eddie Lacy because I misspoke a little bit. Running back, I would say that's the only pressing need on
On
offense.
offense, yeah.
And there's a handful of running backs that I like. I'm not in love with any one of them, I would say, at the moment.
Right.
But there's some guys like Marshawn Lloyd out of USC who I like. I think could be a really good Dylan replacement. I would say he probably is who we thought Dylan was. That's just my personal opinion. And then there's some other sneaky good guys out there that I think we could get late in the draft on the offense, at the running back position, excuse me. Like Rasheen Ali out of
I
Marshall.
was literally just going to mention him because he had a
Yeah,
day at the Senior Bowl yesterday, and I really because literally from that practice I went back and
yeah,
watched some of his stuff, and I'm like, yes, please. I
yeah.
really like him.
And sometimes I just get on these draft sites, go through the draft boards, and I'm going through each prospect. I turn Rashid Ali on. Like,
Yes,
I saw
please.
somebody told me on Twitter yesterday too, which I couldn't agree more. They said Aaron Jones, but bigger.
Yeah, kind
I
of
think
right.
he might
That's
be faster.
exactly what I thought.
I
Yes,
think I think
yes,
he might be faster. He's a
yep,
home run hitter, and I know we've been yearning for a home run hitter in Green Bay, but I think we also need to keep in count that we like a bruiser too for them
yeah,
cold December
yeah.
nights or
Weather
in
turns,
games. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Like, I said Marshawn Lloyd. In theory, I think Braylon Allen would be a nice, but I don't know if he's really scheme I
I was
don't
gonna
think
say
he fit.
I think
I
that'd be a
think we
fun
want him because
story.
he's from Wisconsin. Even I'm not
Exactly.
the biggest Wisconsin fan.
Exactly.
However,
Right.
I think like we might want him because he's from Wisconsin and he has a third gear. It's just he has to build up to it. He's a bruiser back, used to those Wisconsin winters. But I think again, there's a lot of guys that I'm not in particular in love with, but I wouldn't mind if the Packers took them early on as well.
Love it. Well, this is, as always, been just a fantastic chat. Malcolm, really appreciate your time, man.
Thank
Everyone, make
you.
sure you check out Malcolm's stuff at Big Mac Breakdowns here on YouTube. The link is in the description of this video. Malcolm, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Aaron. And just wanted to say, positional rankings for the Packers are coming out Monday, and we're gonna be starting off with the running back. So I'm gonna give my top running back
There we
prospects
go.
for the Packers on Monday.
There you go. Make sure you check it out. Thanks a lot, Malcolm.
All right, thanks, Aaron.